Guys, I know the videos on the channel haven't been that up, that positive lately, but I just watched Spider-Man Brand New Day and I wanted to talk about it because, as no matter how bad things get, Spider-Man is always going to be a ray of light in my life. And I'm happy to say this movie was a ray of light for me. Now, I haven't taken notes. I haven't written anything down that I usually do. I usually like to script these things out, but I just thought, you know what? I'm full of passion right now. Let's just go for it. Let's just move into it. So let's just talk about what I really enjoyed about the movie, and I'm gonna have spoilers. I'm gonna do a little portion with no spoilers, and then a portion about some spoilers. But luckily, like I can say that everything I liked about this movie, no spoilers. So we're gonna talk about that first. I loved Tom Holland in this movie. I want to see 5, 6 more movies with him. I know he wants to like leave the role soon, but he was just fantastic in this movie. And everyone did really great. I think John Bernthal as the Punisher, his inclusion was fantastic. But I don't want to talk about the typical stuff with superhero movies, the performances, the sound effects, the visual effects. Like I don't want to talk about all of that. I want to talk about how this movie understood Spider-Man and understood comics. This is kind of how I felt when I watched Superman last year. Because that movie felt like a comic book movie. Like it wasn't ashamed to have its comic book roots. And I love Spider-Man because he's always been, mind the pun, but he's always been the connective thread, like the web that holds all of Marvel together, right? And I never felt that much, at least, in the previous movies. Like he was an Avenger, sure, he was there with other big characters, but it didn't feel like he was, a uniting force for them, or, able to help anyone out no matter the circumstances. I never felt that, really. What I really enjoyed about this film is, you had inclusion of several Marvel characters like the Hulk and the Punisher. That's not really a spoiler, people know that. You get the Hulk and the Punisher, and, the way they weave into the story is seamless, and it felt like a comic book in the sense that, they just team up with each other. There's no build up, there's no like, oh, who's this person, we have to introduce them, which they've already done in other projects. But, they don't have to do that in this movie. They just get into it. And that's what I loved about Superman, is that they don't really spend a lot of time setting these people up. They're just like, hey, look, these people exist in this world, and here's their deal briefly, and this is like the character they're teaming up with, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed. Listen, I'm just gonna say, depressed Peter Parker. Depressed Peter Parker's back. He was too happy in those goddamn Watts movies, and I'm so sad. I'm so sad that we had to have 3 of those movies before we got one like this. It's about damn time. Street level handling. We got Tombstone. We got Scorpion. We got Boomerang. We got Arachnid. We got a bunch of like guys who like all of them briefly on screen, but it felt like a comic book in that sense. We have all these. It's such a full world. Why don't we explore it in every project a bit more? And not just multiverse shenanigans. Like you have so many characters just in New York. Do something with them, and they do. Thank God. And I just love that he is this connective tissue for the villains and the heroes alike. But you still have this like sad person who's like sacrificed everything for what he believes is the greater good. Sometimes Spider-Man's wrong, and he's told that, and he learns that throughout the movie, that he needs other people, and other people need him. As much as other people need him, he needs other people. And Tom Holland just embodies that will so well. When those are spoilers, but yeah, I'm just gonna say, like, that's what I enjoyed the most about the movie. Is just like the will and the embodiment of Spider-Man, what he represents to people, helping people, caring for them, no matter who they are. That is like at the precipice of that is at the top of the people's minds in this movie. And then we've got the standard stuff, like, yeah, like the swinging and the fight scenes are like straight out of the video games. Which, why haven't they been doing that already? I don't know. But right out of the video games, there's finishers, there's dodge moves, the way he flips off of buildings with the exaggerated swagger of a black teenager. Like, yeah, man, more of that shit. That, like, I have been waiting for that kind of stuff for so long. And the stuff with the Hulk is great. The banter between Tom Holland and John Bernthal is just like at its peak here. I want more of that. We may not ever get it again, because this felt. Oh, excuse me. I remember when these castings were announced, I was like, really? Why are you just throwing people in here? But it just works, and it fits, especially John Bernthal and Tom Holland. Like, they were born to play these characters, and having them bounce off each other the way they do is just fantastic. And I could get an entire movie of just that, if I'm being totally honest with you. And, the contexts in which that happens is fantastic, and I'm really, really glad that they made that decision. And I feel bad for like denouncing it at first, because I was like, is this really necessary? We already have so much shit going on in these movies. And that was, I feel like every time someone says, oh, there's a lot going on in this movie, yes, it's possible. You can have that happen, and you can lose focus and lose like track of what you're trying to say and what your themes are. But I feel like if you have a lot of moving parts and you juggle them and you manage them properly, then it doesn't matter if you have 20 characters in a movie about one guy, you know? As long as they serve a small little portion and don't take away from what is like the main issue or the main character, then I think that's fine. I feel like um the shadow hanging over the previous trilogy was just Peter Parker's connection to Iron Man, his connection to the Avengers. It would just overshadow and like feed so much into Spider-Man as a character. Like we had all of the inclusion of I loved Vulture in the first movie, but he became the way he was because of something the Avengers did. And then Mysterio became the way he was because of something Tony Stark did. And then in the third movie, we have to see some Spider-Man villains, but were they Tom Holland Spider-Man villains? No, it feels like he hasn't even had his own real villain until Mysterio, but he just hated Iron Man, but Iron Man wasn't around, so he's like, fuck you, Peter, you're here now, so I guess we're gonna fight. That's what it felt like. And I'm gonna jump into spoilers because that was my issue with the previous movies, and it's still somewhat of an issue here. Let's talk spoilers, all right? Now, I don't really think this is that much of a spoiler because, I mean, like people are like, "Who is City Simplane? Who is City Simplane?" Guys, she has red hair, and they're introducing the mutants into the MCU. She's playing Jean Grey. I feel like that wasn't like a big deal, but they were keeping it like tightly under wraps. So it's out there now. We know she's playing Jean Grey. Spoiler alert for anyone who might not have known that. She's great in the movie. I love the way in a short amount of time, they set up the emotional states for her with her sister Sarah and what that was like. And they set up this mutant thing. The fact that mutants are going to be part of the MCU and they're not going to be liked, that has been set up pretty well in this movie, I think. And but the thing is just that it's a Spider-Man movie. I wanted it to be a Spider-Man villain as the main villain. But instead, Jean Grey is out here doing some crazy shit. The stuff she does with MJ, the stuff she does with fucking like she shoots people. Sure, she doesn't kill anyone, but the Hulk is a fucking she gets the Hulk to fucking lose his mind, So it's just like she is a danger to society, and as much as her like reasoning might have been valid, I feel like it happens a little too quick. Although I will say, and I honestly, that's besides the point. The point being, I would have loved a Spider-Man villain to be in this movie, like an actual Spider-Man villain to be the villain of the story, Because how many more movies does Tom Holland have in him, right? We don't have his version of the Goblin's probably not going to show up. His version of Doc Ock, his version of Electro. Like, we got Scorpion, yeah, let's go. But like I'm waiting for something else. Like, give me Craven, give me Chameleon. Oh, fucking sorry, we put those in the Sony movies that nobody likes. Give me Venom. Sorry, we put those in the Sony movies. Like, I just want something that's a little more Spider-Man-y. Instead, this movie felt like 60% Spider-Man movie, 40% X-Men setup movie. Which, like, I get it, you guys have to set shit up, but let's be real, this wasn't really required as much as it was, as they put it in here, But that's besides the point. Jean Grey, great addition. I liked Sadie Sink as Jean Grey. I think she'll do great in the future. I just wish that she wasn't the main focus of the film for such a long time. Let's talk about some smaller details. The suit is beautiful. I love how it's not like you can tell when it's CG, you still can, but in the other movies, it was always CG. It's a real live action suit, and it's beautiful. It's such a great looking suit. You can see the textures on it. It's not smoothed out. There's wrinkles. Tom moves so well in it, and he has these moments where you can feel the anger coming off of him in waves, I also really liked how they showcased some of his powers. There's this moment where his powers are because of his, like, his arachnid genome is getting higher in him or whatever. He's losing control over his actions and his senses, and then he basically has like a Daredevil moment where like the smallest noises are like very, very heightened to him. And I thought that was pretty cool. Honestly, I could have used a bit more of that. We had some of that in the final fight, which was also neat. The wire work in that fight also, wow. I mean, Daniel Destin Cretton likes his ninja stuff, and that was some fucking ninja stuff. Having the hand in there was kind of confusing, but then the way they worked into the story was like, it made sense at the end of the day, I remember there was a while where people were thinking like Daredevil was going to be in it because of the hand and blah, blah, blah. Looks like Spider-Man took care of business while Daredevil was in prison, if you know what I'm saying. But I liked all that stuff. Yelena, I love Florence Pugh. She was in the movie for a little bit, and she had like a fun little role. I love how kind of like laissez-faire she is. I hope she's. I mean, God knows she's gonna need help against. In the movie, she's like, "We take care of the big stuff. You take care of the small stuff." Honey, you shoot guns. You don't even have superpowers. How the fuck are you gonna be Doctor Doom? That's a video for another time. The suit looked fantastic. I love how you could see through the lenses sometimes. You could see his eyes through the lenses. That's a neat detail. I really enjoyed that. I don't think the other movies had that, and I quite like that. I will say, Evie, Tom Holland's AI assistant thing, whatever, like that was fine, but I kind of like you when Spider-Man doesn't have an AI. He had like Friday in Homecoming, and then they got rid of it. They phased it out, thank God, and now it's back, and it's like it's cool because it shows how capable he is, and he has something similar in the games. He has a HUD system and like an AI that runs things in the background, but he never talks to it. And I feel like it takes away, like, on one hand, it makes him like smart because, oh, he built an AI to help himself, but on the other hand, it's like I feel like he would just he would just thud that shit out. He would just figure it out regardless. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm a little iffy on that like decision. But then again, like I'm always nitpicky about this kind of stuff. I'd say everything about this movie really worked for me. The way there's cohesion in the story. Tom Holland's performance and his emotion and the way he bounces off of not only Ned and MJ, which is like basically the only connections he's had for the last three movies. Like those are the only people really that have been like around him. Now he's got the Punisher, he's got the Hulk, he's got Yelena, he's got the Wolf. Jean DeWolf was amazing to see in this film. I'm so glad they're giving her some shine. But all that to say, his connections with other people, with other members of the MCU, with other superheroes, that is what Spider-Man's always been about. How he helps them, how they help him, how they all help each other to help everyone else. That has always been what makes these stories so attractive. And I finally saw a bit more of that today than I have in any of these other movies, MCU, Spider-Man or not. And I'm very, very happy that, I got some of that feeling from this film. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There's probably something I'm missing. I wish there was a bit more swinging scenes. Like that swinging scene we got in the first 20 minutes was beautiful. I wish we got a bit more of that. But, the action was well handled. All the standard stuff that you would expect from the MCU. Like, it was funny. It had moments of levity, had moments of heart, more so than the last few movies that I've seen. And, Thunderbolts wasn't too bad, actually. But, I don't know. It's just, like, I love Spider-Man, so this just hit harder for me. I got choked up a little bit during that last scene. I think that last scene with Aunt May, where Aunt May's goodness, something that Peter lives with all the time, her goodness, that is what helped Jean come out of like her, her rage, her anger, her depression. I loved that. That's what got her out. Yes, it's talk no jutsu, but they were never gonna throw Jean in prison. She's too important a character. So as far as talk no jutsu goes, that was pretty awesome. My friends were bringing up two things. One, why did Punisher have to shoot? I think the fact that Punisher shot at Jean Grey is crazy because like that's like, bro, like that's a little girl basically, bro. Like, what are you talking about? Oh, sorry, I'm getting a call. Spider-Man must pick up. Anyways, yeah, I think it's crazy. I mean, I think it's crazy that Punisher would shoot at a little girl because, like, I know she's dangerous and all, but come on, bro, what are you doing? That's besides the point. The point is that they recreated that panel with him carrying Peter at the end. That was sick. I really enjoyed that. And he took his mask off. They chatted. Frank cried. That was beautiful. I really enjoyed that. And then Frank put the mask on. And he does a little bit of this, and it's like, that was silly. That's goofy. And did it denigrate Frank's character as the Punisher a little bit? Sure, but I mean, almost 10 years of like depression and anger and guilt for Frank. I think he's allowed a moment of levity or two here and there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that happened. And then the way they ended with that handshake, I feel good about that. I feel good. It felt earned. I'm glad they didn't find out halfway into the movie. And I'm not sure if Ned like knows, but I'm pretty sure he does. And I'm excited to see where they take. It's the spell didn't just wash away. They weren't like, oh my god, it's Peter. All my memories are coming back. That didn't happen. Thank God. I was really worried that would happen. That they would just remember everything. But no, it looks like if this is gonna work, Peter's gonna have to rebuild his relationship with them, and that is something I look forward to watching. That being said, I think now might not be a bad time to throw in, some of Peter's other romances, on his way back to MJ, like maybe Black Cat, maybe a Gwen Stacy like type of thing. I don't know. I think a Black Cat would bounce really well off of Peter in the next film. Something like that would be pretty cool. Just don't hire Sydney Sweeney. That's the only thing I asked. But anyways, where this film may go, where the future of Spider-Man may go, who knows? But all I can say for sure is that I had a great time, and I hope you all had a great time if you're watching this video, spoilers and blah, 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 whatnot. But we're back, baby. We're so back. And I hope this is enough to carry me through. I've been going through a bit of a rough patch. A video coming out on that. Maybe we'll see. But I feel good, and hopefully this is enough to get me through the next week. That's all from me. Peace out, everyone. And remember, with great power comes great responsibility. You'll have a great day.